Hello and welcome to SharpHR Career Corner with Karen Sharp Price. This podcast will inform and inspire you in your quest to find the right career path. If you're just starting out, looking to make a change in your field, or transitioning into a new career, then this podcast is for you. We will be sharing tips and providing resources on topics such as writing resumes, interviewing, using LinkedIn, and networking. We will take a look at different careers, companies, and opportunities. You will hear success stories from professionals in all career paths, and so much more. You will leave this podcast with 3 key takeaways that you can easily put into practice. Enjoy!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to SharpHR Career Corner. Have you ever been in a career for a number of years and have always thought about trying something new, but never did? Tonight, we're going to talk to somebody who finally decided to take a new career path. Let me introduce you to Aleta Mann. Hi, Aleta. How are you doing?
Hi there. Good. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you so much for coming. I know it took us a few tries to do this, but I'm glad that it's worked out for us. I think that your story is extremely interesting. And I think also that there's a lot of people out there that have been in your situation and that really are in your situation right now. And I think that you can really inspire and motivate a lot of other people. And so that's one of the main reasons why I want you to share your story with everybody, because I think so many people can relate. And I think it's really a powerful message that we can help other people. So if you could tell us a little bit about your career, how and where did you start?
Well, I was doing some things actually in the music business as a young woman, and I made no money. And my parents finally said to me, $50 a week just isn't really going to work out. And so my mom suggested sales. She was in sales and introduced me to a person kind of like yourself at the time, only maybe more of a recruiting company. Okay. And I talked to him about a career in sales, and I thought, well, they say they make a lot of money. I like to talk a lot. And I was also, one of the things I did for the music business was I helped them get membership lists by collaring people at the door and being very persistent in getting them to sign up for these mailing lists.
Okay.
So surveys for them and stuff like that. So I wasn't afraid to just go to people and, knock on the door or say, hey there, this is what I have, and I'd like you to really sign up for this mailing list. And I was really persistent and really good at just getting them to do that. And then I always really liked working on the phones. I always felt like you can get anything you want if you're not afraid to pick up the phone and call people. And I used to work the phone book like the internet is now.
Yeah.
So then I kind of gradually just grew into it. And my first sales job was out of college with a trade show management company. And
Wow.
So that's how I got into sales.
Okay. And then through that career path that you took, were there moments when you were thinking, do you want to stay in what you're doing, or do you want to move into other areas, or were you happy and content along the way?
Well, to say happy and content, was I ever? No, I had, it seems to me like what I was really attracted to and what I kept changing and growing more into was marketing and advertising. And so the bulk of my career was spent in that. So starting with the trade show management, and they also managed association publications. So I sold some advertising. I sold trade show space and coordinated all the stuff that went with that, and pulled in endorsements from all the associations, et cetera, et cetera. So not to dwell on that too long, because there's a long career there. But from there, I went into a company that sold magazine advertising. After that, I ended up at the Yellow Pages, when it was the 9X Yellow Pages, when people still knew what that was. 9X used to be the phone company. And then from there, I heard about a job at the Buffalo News. My husband had a friend who was leaving there, I don't want everybody saying, oh, her husband got her the job, because my boss at the time didn't know my husband. It was a huge place at the time.
Uh-huh.
It's a sensitive point. And so I ended up running the new business development department at the Buffalo News. And
Really?
yes, I worked there for 11 years, 10 years, 11 years. And I started with the new business development department, which had 2 people selling at the time, and grew that department into 10 people. And from about $350,000, we ended up doing over 2 million in the
Wow.
time that I was in that department.
Wow.
So, and I stayed at the news. I loved the news. That would have been my favorite job. It was just a great time, a great group.
Uh-huh.
You know, it was like a big family.
Yeah.
And then from that area, I was in real estate advertising, you know, handling some of the major real estate accounts there, selling their advertising and so on. And after that, I went into kind of a real estate thing, because that's what I'd been selling. And I met some people and worked at their company, helping people market their homes themselves. And that was brief, because they were going through some things there that, you know, changed the ownership, and just my situation changed. And I ended up selling telephones for my home for a couple of years.
Wow.
So there was like this couple of years where things were sort of in flux after this long period of being at the news. And, you know, and Ellen Berry, those 2 together were a big chunk of my career. Then I had like a job that was a year, 2 years, a year, you know, and they weren't really selling marketing related, or, you know, it was kind of a little bit scrappy. So then I fell into my last position, which was at Emedco, where they manufactured safety products. And I actually didn't fall into it. I had been with a manufacturer for 10 years and handled all their sales and marketing, and branded their company, and just did all kinds of things there. And that job was eliminated while I was out having a little surgery. So
Yeah.
heck of a way to go.
Yeah.
But it was time anyway. So from there, I did go to Emedco. And to me, that felt like advertising again, because their biggest product was signs. You know, they did a ton of custom signs, and then things you would expect, you know, OSHA related traffic signs, all the kinds of things you see when you're walking through a factory, or really anywhere. You know, exit lines on the floor, footstep shapes, wear protective equipment, you know, OSHA related, and other types of safety and directional signs and so on. And to me, that felt like advertising, and I really liked that. And sometimes slipped and called them ads, signs, ads, and then someone will go, ads. And I go, oh, anyway. So there was that feeling about it. They also sold a lot of other safety related products they didn't make. We mainly made signs, tags, and labels. And it was a really lively group of feisty people. And we had a lot of fun there for a long time. That was all phone.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So it
that
was
was
all
all
inside
phone,
sales.
outbound. It was inside sales, all outbound calling.
Wow.
So the only inbound we took was our customers calling us back. We didn't do like inbound 800 number type calls, you know what I mean?
Right.
Not to knock that. But so I was there for 8 years.
Okay.
And then we had the pandemic.
And so it sounds like you really enjoyed that when you were there.
I did for a long time. I really enjoyed it. I liked the place a lot. I really liked the people I worked with. Then when they started they changed up management a few times while I was there, and got into some sales systems that would, you know, like what everybody does now, where you've got dialers automatically giving you your leads and tracking everything, and everything started to become about metrics. And so on one hand, they loved what I did. I got a lot of not to sound inflated anyway, but I got a lot of praise for how I worked with people, how I went about selling and the step by step and all the training I had over the years. I felt, it really did well for me. But as things started to turn more and more towards pile up the numbers and speed,
Yeah.
as opposed to really be able to develop relationships with people, I started to enjoy it less. And, I wanted to do everything they asked, and I really worked hard. And I was starting to think, you know what, this is like, doesn't feel to me like it used to. And so I went like that for actually a couple of years. I started to feel like that. But
Did you have any thoughts about other ideas of things that you might still like to try at that point?
I was like really not sure. I thought, well, I have all these skills. I have all these things I know how to do. What kind of package do I put those in? Do I want to go through the trouble? I love the people here. I love the company. I love the place I'm in. Literally, I liked the atmosphere of the building and everything. They had a lot of nice amenities. I really didn't want to leave that. It was a comfort zone. So I would start to put together a resume. I made a few calls. I talked to some recruiting people, actually the ones who got me the job at a Medco. And they were going to look at some things for me, but they had this idea that, it was going to be like executive office manager or something like that. And I was like, oh, maybe I'm just really not that unhappy. I just never did anything about it.
Well, and I think a lot of people can relate to being comfortable in where you're working. It's not bad. It's enjoyable. You like the people, you like the company as a whole, but there's just a part of you that it's changed over time, and you can't really put your finger on it, but know that you might just feel like trying something different. But the biggest part, I think, is getting stuck and not pushing yourself to take that step. Now for you,
right.
I think that, what happened to your position when the pandemic hit?
Well, we came home, I believe it was March 13th. We started working at home. I think that was the day.
Yeah, that was probably the day for a lot of people.
13th or 14th, we came home and started working from home, which I actually really don't mind doing and kind of enjoy. So then we were just plugging away because everybody was in a strange place, or they were closed, or they were working from home. And, so on one hand, there's this huge safety problem going on, and there's things people wanted, but a lot of things they just couldn't even think to talk about. You know what I mean? They were just, it was just so hard for everybody at that time. Sure. So I was working at home for a week or two. No, it was more like a month. The time seems like it just flashed by.
Yeah.
But it was more like a month. And then my boss, he would do phone calls with each of us individually every week to see how we were doing. And he called me up. We had our talk after lunch that day. And he said, unfortunately, the reason for this call isn't a happy one. And they had this, and I got laid off. So just like that, I didn't expect it. I knew, and he was a newer boss there, and he was great. I knew that we weren't always, the company and I weren't exactly on the same page at that point, but it wasn't in a combative way or, anything like that. And
so what was going through your mind when?
Oh my God,
those words?
It was like, as soon as he said that, I was like, oh my God. And the HR manager was on the phone with him. And I was like, oh man, you get this, everything just started to collide in my brain. And I was like, you mean you're going to do this? I literally said, you're going to do this to me during this terrible time? I was like, I don't think I actually shrieked like that, but I said those words, and I don't really remember a whole lot of what I said after that. It was just kind of tumbling out, and I was trying to ask questions, and they were being very well, my manager was upset. He didn't know any of it was coming at all. They didn't even tell him until like right before he called me. And so she was very kind and patient and read everything to me that had to be, spelled out. And so then I said, you know what? I finally said, okay, she was going to send me a package of stuff. They offered me a decent severance. They were going to take care of my health care for a couple months, on Cobra. And I said, I'm okay. I'm going to hang up now while I have a shred of dignity. And I really did. And I really said that too. And I was like, I'm just going to hang up now. Okay. And they were like, okay, that was it. Boom, done.
Wow.
Never got to say goodbye to my friends in person. I texted or called, most of them I got to talk to on the phone, but I've never seen any of them again.
Wow.
Never got to talk to them.
So what do you do? What do you do at that point? You hang up and you shriek.
And my husband said, he came up and he knew things were going wrong and he was standing by waiting. And I think I blubbered for a few minutes and kind of a, hysterical way.
Well, it's a shock.
And then I just sort of, you feel this cut loose, sort of free floating, not in a good way feeling. So, he said, look, maybe this is for the best. You've been thinking about it anyway, just relax. So I really was only able to just kind of relax and regroup. I'm not the kind of person that sits around much. I wish I did more, but I think I took the rest of the week off, so to speak. It was a Tuesday. And I think through that week and the weekend, I kind of vegetated and pulled out some old resumes and just kind of set my desk up. And
so how do you mentally stay upbeat? You're in a pandemic, you get laid off, and you're not quite sure what your next step will be. How do you mentally stay, positive through that?
Well, fortunately, my husband is retired and was here, and we've always had this thing, this humor between us. And so he was so supportive. I was so glad he was here, because if I needed to go turn around and hug someone, there he was, and we made jokes like we always do. And I just started to go at it. I just got busy. He's snickering in the other room.
So you might have to join us. So
I don't know. I don't remember thinking to myself, gotta stay up. What I always do is I go forward. I tell my son, and when he was growing up and had times of trouble, I said, don't sit there in it. Take action. Do something. So I did something. I pulled out my stuff. I read all my old resumes and all my old letters of recommendation. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. So that made me feel better. But when I looked at my resume, it looked so outdated and so packed with stuff, and just, I was going to just try to sort of edit it. And I was like, oh God, it's horrible. What do I do? And I went on, created a new Indeed thing, a whole new account. I did go on LinkedIn, which you helped me with so much, because I went on it and I was like, I have 3 accounts and they're all different. And I couldn't make any of them work,
I remember that time. I remember that.
And I was like, oh my God, it's even worse than it used to be, that I remember it from the last time. The only other time I had looked in recent years was when I left the spa cover manufacturer after having surgery, and I was out of work, 2 months then too. And the longest I was ever out of work in my whole life is 3 months. And it was like, it's not something I do. It was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to be out of work. So then I thought, well, maybe I'll retire. We've been very good with our money. I think I could retire. So I sat down for a couple of days and pulled everything out and did my budget and looked at everything. And I went, okay, I can't do that. Like, it's not too far away, but I can't do that right now. Now Social Security is looking a little crappy. Okay, we don't want to do that yet. Okay. So went back to the files with the resumes, and I just started looking around. I got on Indeed. I looked at listings. I made, saved a bunch of listings, and looked through websites and started searching out things like resume services and career counselors. And I think that happened I think I actually started to talk to you in the end of April, didn't I?
I
It
think
was
so.
about 2 weeks after I lost my job, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So at that point, I had kind of no organization at all in my mind of how to go about it. I just knew I was older. I wanted to change my career completely. I thought anybody that looks at my resume is going to go, oh, sales. Oh, we can't pay her enough. And I thought, well, I want to work from home. That would be really nice to work from home. And anyway, it's a pandemic, so it seems likely. But would I be able to find something for my busy brain? Because I need to be busy and I need meatiness. I can't just go, all day long. You know what I mean? Sales can
Yeah.
get repetitive enough.
Oh, absolutely.
So I was just convinced nobody's going to hire me. Those were the down moments when I'd let myself remember, I'm this age now and my career is this long, and people are going to go, oh, if she started working at this job on this day, and they want to know, when did you graduate from college? Oh, when it was first built, I mean, come on. So I was like, who the hell is going to hire me? So I thought, oh, it's all over. I'm going to have to take some, very entry level type of job, or I'm going to get pushed right back into sales. And it, in fact, found myself pulling sales listings and saving them. And I was like, no, not going to do that. And then at that point, I had read a bunch of websites, and I called Byron Dibble, who did my first resume with me, and then you right after that. And what was really good about it was, first of all, that he talked through my entire career with me and just built me up so much, which I really needed. And I was like, wow, I guess I do know how to do that and that. And just because I do this, it actually entailed knowing how to do that. You know what I mean? So it was like, I felt like I needed to remember what there was to my career makeup.
Yes.
And it made me feel really good. It was quite voluminous. It was a really huge resume, and that fit the personality. Byron's personality is very, educated, and said, no, put it all in there. It's impressive. Don't cut your resume short and all that stuff. And I feel, and actually he was right not to cut it all down. But you just kind of took it, and you took me in hand. I had, we had those phone interviews, and I'm talking and talking and talking. And, I don't know if I'm going with the correct flow or
No,
not
you
here.
are.
But
So when you look back, during that period of time, are there things that stand out for you that really worked, that really helped you step by step get to where you need to be? And you did mention that you were thinking that you wanted to change careers, but you didn't mention what that career was. What were you thinking?
I wasn't sure what it was, because I wanted to keep working with people, which everybody goes, I like to people, I'm a people person, all that, I really like to help people. I like to have relationships with people and help, just, find out, what do you need? How can I help? It's, to me, that's a real thing, and so I think that actually when I finally said, I need to talk to someone about how to do this, when I finally reached out, starting with Byron and working with him, and through this sort of autobiographical process. And then, you know, looking at everybody that was out there doing career consultation, and your site and everything, the way you wrote things that were on there just really appealed to me. And those were key things to really get me going. Because at that point, all I had done was I struggled with LinkedIn. I had gone through a whole lot of job listings and made some notes and saved some, and, you know, put little hearts on some of them and all that stuff you do. But I hadn't actually sent out a resume at that point, and I was getting into like a couple of weeks.
Okay.
So I had to call someone, and I called Byron, and I called you, and those were key things to reach out and get some advice from someone who could see from the outside.
Well, that's great, because I think that, you know, you're not, I guess one of the messages that comes out of that is you're not alone. When you get into these kind of situations,
Right.
you feel very alone when it happens to you. But it's amazing how having a conversation with somebody else and looking through their eyes at a situation looks totally different than your own perception of where you're at. And I think that that's, you know, that's something that career coaches do, recruiters can do, you know, just friends can do. They can look at your path and pull out all your strengths. You know, everything that you've done, you're just so used to doing it, you don't look at it as a strength.
Right. You don't remember that that's what it is. It's so automatic and natural to you at that point.
Yeah, and usually that happens when you're really good at it. You know, like
right,
you
it's
know,
just flowing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you just don't even, you don't pinpoint that's, and I think, you know, like on a resume, the hardest part for someone to write their resume is the beginning. Like, you know, they don't like to write about the good things that they've done, because it's hard for people. And
It is.
in fact, it's harder for women to pump themselves up and to say how good they really are, because they don't feel comfortable doing that. So
it's true.
And so having those conversations that you had with other people, telling, you know, having them tell you what they see, and then you listening to that and really absorbing that builds your confidence. And when you go out and try to have to sell yourself, it's a lot easier to sell yourself when you're pumped up.
Right, it is. It's true. That really, it gave me a breath and the confidence to say, I can find something. I have a lot to offer. You know, and it's like in my mind, I've always been a little bit cocky, and I always felt that I did have a lot to offer, which is why, you know, people at work make me so mad sometimes. but just that whole, what am I trying to say? You know, just that whole seeing it from the outside and saying, okay, how can I bring this and help these people that have this listing, these people who need this type of employee, you know, how do I fit with that? And then when you started to work with me on redoing my resume to put those
keywords,
the core competencies up in the top.
Yep.
And I thought, well, I don't know, I core competencies. I've never said that in my entire life. I've never asked anyone, what are your core competencies? You know, so I was like, I don't know about this, but you know what? It really worked. And I found that even though, you know, you're looking at the listings, you're changing those things it wasn't a lie. They were real things that I had to offer.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes my resumes looked a little different from each other, you know, but they were all real things that I could do and that I could offer.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, I think I am going to head towards customer service and that type of thing. But I'm going to try and find something that's not like an entry-level position, where the description tells me that there's something I can get my teeth into. And I just started reading. And, you know, when I finally hit the ground with that resume, I was a month out. It was a month to the day since I was laid off. That's how long it took.
Wow.
I mean, I think I worked with you over a couple weeks,
Yep.
and
you were
thank
getting nervous.
and I'll say it again. Anybody who's listening, Karen saved my butt, okay? From withering on the ground and just being completely gone. So
And I did not pay you to say that.
no,
so you're saying that it took you about a month.
About a month.
And then what started to happen? What started to change?
Well, I think because I was so prepared and I'd done a lot of research and I worked every day like a job. If I was just looking at listings, I looked at listings for hours. I went, took a lunch break. Sometimes I even forgot to do that. And then I go back. I don't think there were many days, except for the weekends, that I worked less than 4 to 8 hours on getting a job.
Wow.
Mostly it was 6 to 8 hours a day that I worked. I made myself get up in the morning, most mornings with an alarm, and, got up, got dressed, sat down in front of the computer and just go, So when I finally did get a resume out, 2 days later, I got a call. Every time I sent out resumes, I got something, so every day I was cranking out. You don't send out as many as you think because you're being selective, and you're gearing everything. So that takes a little time.
Well, and you want to do that. So for the people that are sending out dozens and dozens and dozens, if you kind of refine that a little bit and become more selective by doing your research ahead of time into the companies that you really want to target, and then to the jobs that you really want to target, you have more success.
I did do that in every single job listing that I looked at that appealed in any way. I went on their website, looked at what was on the website, read it. What do the words say? Does it sound like human beings wrote it? What do the pictures look like? Do they all look like they're supermodels? Or do they look, how do the people that are supposed to be employees look? Do they look happy? I mean, really, you can tell things from looking at websites.
Oh, absolutely.
If it's all just staged and models and, or real, just kind of chop type writing. I mean, you can tell a lot about a company by going through their website and looking at what they offer and how they talk about their company.
So how long did it take you from starting to send out resumes to getting that interview with the company that you really wanted and getting that offer? How long do you think that took?
Well, let's see. I came across their ad actually early on, and I had saved it. And the company I work for now is an appraisal company. They do appraisals and home inspections across the country for lenders and brokers and insurance agencies. And this is a huge company. And they had a customer evaluations customer service representative job listed. And I was like, something about the way they described how they wanted people who were empathetic and would listen and work with. And there was a lot to the job. And some of it I was like, well, I don't know a thing about appraisals, but I do have the real estate thing. And I was like, I just don't know about it. I'd take it and I'd put it aside again and I'd go apply to other things. So from the time I actually started sending out a resume to the time that I hooked up with them, it seems to me, while I was out of work 2 months exactly.
Okay.
I lost my job April 15th. I started at Mueller Reports on June 15th.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was about 4.5, maybe 4 or 5 weeks of looking by the time I got on the phones. And they called me. We did a phone interview one day with, I talked to my direct supervisor the first day. The second day I talked to him and the department director. And 2 days later, they offered me the job.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like, and it is what I was hoping for.
Yeah.
I'm actually not on the phones as much. It's more, you're more online. And one of the things that's always been a big deal for me in sales, that I always felt was really responsible for my success was that I follow up with people. I don't leave them hanging. I get back to them right away.
Mhm.
If they need more, I'm going to get back to them with whatever that is. It's a big, big thing for me. You know, everybody hates to be kept waiting, and most companies make you wait.
Sure.
So don't do that.
Yep.
Anyway, this company is all about following up. It's what they do. You're working as a go-between between lenders and brokers and the inspectors and appraisers that are out in the field. You're making sure that their order, their report is getting done from start to finish as fast as it can be done.
Okay.
And so you're their liaison. You're in constant communication every day with that lender and that appraiser or the field rep or the manager of that territory. You're constantly back and forth, what's happening with this? And then you're telling the lender, and then you're back to your people and you're saying, well, how come, you know, you're trying to learn about what's going on with them so that you can tell the lender your job is being done. You're going to get your product on this day, your report, etc.
Okay.
And it's very satisfying. And you do get calls, you do talk to people. It's not like outbound sales,
Yeah.
you know, and that could be from any number of people, you know.
So looking back, like, was this a good decision to make a change at the moment that you kind of had to decide? Do you stick with something that you knew and were comfortable with, or try something different? Looking back, are you glad you did it?
I am so glad I did it. I'm so much happier, so much less stress.
Wow.
Not that it's without stress. No job is
Yeah.
without stress. The people I work with that I work for, let me say first, they're so mellow. It's so different than being in a sales atmosphere where everybody's like, you know, and you're not going, oh my God, the $45,000 sale I was going to make, they just said, oh, we never said that. You know, I mean, it's like that horrible feeling of panic when your sales are not happening. And you've done everything right. You know, this is different. This is, you do everything right and the right stuff happens. And
that's a great feeling.
My manager is an absolute, I mean, you're not supposed to call your manager a doll, but you know what I mean. He's a sweetheart. He's so mellow. We can all joke around with him. He jokes around with us. His mother brings us desserts every Thursday. Today we had 3 kinds of cookies. It's like, she is amazing.
Wow.
So we have a lot of fun. We really do. It's a real mellow atmosphere. I wear jeans every day. And you know, shorts in the summer or whatever.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I am, you know, like, coming from me, when a client calls me and says that they got their job, the you know, the dream job that they wanted, or the new change in career, and then I check back with them in a month, 2 months, 3 months, and you know, they're happy. I can't tell you how that makes me feel. I mean, it propels me to the next person and the next person and the next person, because it's such a great feeling. I mean, I'm as happy and excited for my clients when they hit it big,
I know
because
I can
it
tell.
makes me, it's great. Like, I want everybody to love what they do. And if I can get one more person on my team that loves what they do, you know, that's one more person out there that on Sunday night, they're not dreading Monday morning. And to me, that's huge.
I no longer dread Monday mornings.
That's
I do
great.
not. Yeah. It's just a different feeling.
So, you know, this is my signature question, but what are 3 tips that you could give somebody right now that's listening to you, that's maybe been laid off, maybe furloughed, has always thought about changing a career or a job, but is comfortably stuck? What 3 tips would you give somebody like that?
First of all, it is really important to regroup for a few days. Just kind of clear your head. And then, like I said earlier, do something, take action, even if it's just opening up your resume, your old resume, or looking at resumes online. Start to form something in your mind of, you know, what do you need to look like before you go out there? And that's, like you said, that is a really hard thing to do. And reach out for help. Reach out for help. Don't be afraid to go to a professional. If there's money involved, you know what? It's going to pay itself back. Do your research. Read, like when I was looking for a consultant, I read those websites too, just like I did the ones I was applying for. There you were, you wonderful human being. So so it would be take action, do something helpful for yourself. Find people who can talk to you about what you need, what's out there, how to take steps. And geez, there seems to be so much more than just 3 things. And work it like a job. Work it like a job. Don't throw one in here and throw it in there. You lose your rhythm.
Yep.
And you miss things that way.
Well, and
you'll sit for months. People, it was lucky for me during that time that you got this extra money and everything. Actually, that's another story. But I was lucky to have the severance and be able to, not sweat that too much. But you work it like a job, and you will not be unemployed for very long, because people are hiring. You think they're not, but they are hiring. They really are. There's a lot of jobs out there.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And something else that you said that kind of stuck out to me was that you set the alarm and you would get up.
I got up every day. Most days, there were days when that did not happen.
That's okay.
But most days, Monday to Friday, I set an alarm, got up, got dressed, and
keep the routine going.
Yeah, because if you're in your pajamas all day, you don't feel like you're being purposeful. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
a pajama
absolutely.
day is something else. If I have a pajama day, I'm sitting in the chair all day with movies or a book or something. That's a pajama day for me. Like Christmas Day is a pajama day. Okay.
It's the official day.
Yeah. But if I don't put some jeans on or something that's clothing, wash my face and just, feel alive.
Yeah.
So those were key things. Get up out of bed, do something, work it like a job, and don't be afraid to ask for help.
Well, I think that that's all extremely important advice, very helpful, supportive. I know with the pandemic, a lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of people have been laid off. A lot of industries are still in limbo, not sure whether they're going to be coming back full, capacity or not. So I really believe that this podcast can help people think about where they are. I'm sure your story, there's so many parts of your story that ring true for so many people. So I hope that our conversation inspires somebody just to take a chance, take some steps, and see where it goes. I don't know if you felt it, but did you feel as though when you started to get your desk ready, when you started to pull out your resumes, started to do some research, the momentum started, the idea of just keep going forward? The first step is usually the hardest.
Yeah. And I think probably maybe the first couple days, like after I pulled the resume out and seriously started going through those folders, because I keep things in different versions and so on. I would go, and I'd put it down, and then I just get on the computer and start looking at Indeed and Monster.com. Mostly I use Indeed because they pull in so much stuff from everywhere.
Yep.
So that to me was more fruitful in the beginning.
Okay.
Because I was just going, okay, well, what is out there, and reading and just researching and thinking. Then I'd go to the folder and I'd go, oh, and I put that aside and go back to the computer again. But so I started to collect and think, okay, so I got to look this way if I want to get this kind of job. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's when I knew that if I was having so much trouble looking at my own resume, that I better get somebody to help me. Well, I sure wasn't going to be able to do it myself.
I'm really glad that it did. And I'm really glad that I think from just, perspective from where I'm standing, you did everything right. I mean, you really worked hard, and it might have felt like it was taking a longer time for you, but it really wasn't. You did all the steps, and sometimes you have to go through some of those interviews or conversations about other positions so that when the right one comes along, you know it, you can feel it, and you know that it's the
Yes.
right one. And so
Yes.
I'm so glad that it all worked out and that you're happy, and you can tell that you're happy. You can tell that you really like what you do, which is,
I do. I really do. I do. I enjoy being there so much. And, my boss is into having fun. He's into everybody having fun, and not in a corporate, well, let's do this today kind of contest way. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And like he'll walk around the office with his mother's cookies and go, okay, cook, and it's like the best. He's just the best. And
I want to get a job there.
oh, he's so mellow. Oh, yeah, come on in. They're expanding, actually. They
Oh,
are
that's
still
good to
hiring.
know.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Well,
So,
thank you so much. I really appreciate
oh,
that
thank
you
you.
took the
Thank
time
you.
to do this, because I really do appreciate it. It's been great knowing you, meeting you, and I know that we'll stay connected, but I am thrilled that you're in the place that you're at and you're so happy. So but thank you. So for those that are listening to this podcast, and if you're tired, frustrated, you feel stagnant in your current career, and you've thought about finding something that challenges or excites you, then contact Sharp Human Resources. We can certainly help you through guided assessments, conversations, research that you can explore and discover new career paths. Sometimes you just need someone to talk things through with. Be given direction, and then things start to fall into place. So do yourself a favor, go to sharphumanresources-buffalo.com and contact us today. Until next time, be kind, everyone. We need to show a lot more kindness in the world, and it starts with you and I. Thanks again for listening, and have a great day.